everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Socially Wired with me, Vanessa. And on the other side, I have, as usual, my co host, Tiago. So, Tiago, how is everything down in uh, Brussels? I keep forgetting, I keep mixing up things.
Everything is going well, except for the weather that is not always as bright as it is in Portugal, but I won't complain very much. But yeah, it's all going good in Brussels, and in the AI world, also things are moving as usual. And this week I've seen a tool that I had some fun playing with it, and I think as a tool to be played with, I think there's some potential. I'm not 100% sure if that's usable yet in a professional context, but I'm very excited to see how this actually gets, how this evolves, and eventually we'll have a tool like this to be used in a professional context. And I'm talking about Suno, which is a Discord tool that lets you generate lyrics, and then generate a song based on a prompt. So we've seen, prompt to image, prompt to a video, we've seen prompt to, anything. And now we see prompt to music, and it's something very funny in the way that you don't need a lot of input to create music. So you'll be just looking for something random. You're talking about, like, I don't know, crisps. Yeah, I love these crisps. They are crunchy and salty. And so you just crispy crisps. And then it will eventually generate some lyrics that will rhyme, and it will output two different songs in the style that it feels like it should be. And even it generates a little artwork based on what you're saying.
I love my crisps, they're so divine, crunchy and tasty, they're all mine. Sour cream and onion, my flavor of choice. Eating them all day, I'll never be a boy. I love my crisps, they're so divine, crunchy and tasty, they're all mine. Sour cream and onion, my flavor of choice. Eating them all day, I'll never be boys.
I have to say that it's very funny how so quickly you got something, finalize the final product, although I think it's not good enough yet to be used in a professional context. But I can see that being used as a creator, as part of like a video or something like that. Have you ever dreamt that something like that would come, Vanessa?
Yeah, I've tried a few of these tools, and they're pretty cool. But as a kind of a music geek, I still feel they will. I still need them to get better, because it's the output is still a little it still needs to get better. It's like you ask them to give you. We were talking about potatoes previously, because you can ask them to generate lyrics as well as the music, and the final results is like it's still kind of still in early stage music development. So I think it's pretty cool, and we certainly can generate music for some of our videos, even for small parts of it, because I've seen people generate music for YouTube videos, non-copyrighted songs for YouTube videos. Okay, good as a background track, but it's still a little weird to put it as an intro song or something with a little more main character vibe for your content. But still, it's really entertaining to play around with it, and the fact that you can actually ask it for a lyric. And we were talking about potatoes, and now we'll explain why we were talking about potatoes, because you can actually ask it to generate a rap hip hop song from the 90s, Tupac style, and make the lyrics to be about a potato with an existential crisis, and so it maybe will be funny, but we already have seen a few creators um, create songs that they are actually using as a teaser, not actually generated by AI, but teasing how this can be like in, I don't know, maybe a few months, but surely in a few years. How can these tracks can be fully generated by AI? And we've seen DJs like David Guetta actually using AI to generate uh, tracks or audio tracks, voice tracks using known known singers, or in this case rappers. He used Eminem.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
Eminem, bro. There's something that I made as a joke and it works so good, I could not believe it. I discovered those websites that are about AI. Basically, you can write lyrics in the style of any artist you like. So I typed, write a verse in the style of Eminem about future rave. And I went to another AI website that can recreate the voice. I put the text in that and I played the record and people went nuts.
Eminem's voice, AI generated Eminem voice, to put on one of his tracks in a live performance he did. So the potential is endless, but for now I just think it's really fun tool to play around with, especially if you're a music geek and you want to try new things and see how it works and give it more and better prompts to see if the output is better. So yeah, definitely great tool to mess around with and try new things for your playground.
So this Chirp, it's the name of the tool on Suno to create audio tracks. But then you have Bark, I think, where you can find, you can choose like, I want an American old voice that is whatever. You can make it even with music. So like kind of like actually an intro for your channel. And you say like, welcome to, you're listening to Socially Wired. And you can choose like, I want an American voice, or I want a, whatever, European, Italian, I don't know, female, male, and you have a few voices, and they're actually very good. I tried with a few of them. Some of them are like, with sound, with music is like, whoa, that's a bit weird.
You're listening to Socially Wired.
But some of them are like, it's the voiceover kind of thing that doesn't feel robotic. It feels like, there's some pacing, there's some dynamic.
You're listening to Socially Wired.
And that is actually very interesting. And it's also in this tool. So I think that can be already used. And maybe that there's a bit of a better room to fit it in a professional context. But for instance, like, Mr. Beast, like the music of Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast. That kind of thing. Yeah. You could easily, if it was 10 years ago, this could have been like an AI generated parody kind of song. So I think there's a room to use it in a creative comedic setup. Maybe not in a professional context, but there's room for everything. I'd say.
No doubt, and we have this part of Eminem's voice, which was generated by AI, that David Guetta used, for instance. We will have definitely some issues regarding, copyright, because you cannot just use Eminem's voice in your tracks without his permission. When I say Eminem, I say anybody else that is a known personality in the music or entertainment industry. It's like the actors, like we previously mentioned on the other episode, on the previous episode of this podcast. So you cannot just record something and use it for commercial purposes without the person's permission. If you decide to use, I don't know, Beyonce's voice on your tracks, but still, if you use it for fun, entertainment purposes, for your own purposes, and not commercialize it, still a fun tool to play with.
Indeed. And segueing from voiceovers and Mr. Beast as well, I was watching something interesting about the way that, and I've noticed it already. For some reason, my YouTube keeps going back to Portuguese naturally without me like clicking on it. So every now and then I open like a video and it's dubbed in Brazilian Portuguese, and I'm like, what's happening? And then suddenly you find that you can choose different audio tracks. So a video that we've seen, anytime before, that there was like, the audio that you're seeing in the video, like that's what you're getting. But now, and I think that's quite recent, you can actually see a YouTube video with a different audio track. And this essentially enables, videos to reach new audiences by dubbing, just dubbing the video. I've seen this recently with Mr. Beast, and essentially you're watching a video of Mr. Beast with a different kind of like style vibe. Someone is like, with their own personality dubbing it in different languages. It's actually very interesting to see. And when we think of Mr. Beast videos, for instance, that, reach hundreds of millions of views constantly, and if we think that his audience might be like kind of young, so a lot of those people, maybe they don't speak English. And if you suddenly unlock, just with Spanish or, Chinese, Japanese, Indian kind of, you unlock certain regions by dubbing it. And perhaps this reach can like double, which is like absolutely wild. So this is a tool that YouTube is slowly rolling out to some of the creators, and I think this has a big potential to change and to shift the YouTube scene, because until now, maybe like if you're a creator in Spanish, perhaps you have a bigger reach because the people that are watching your video are not watching Mr. Beast, for instance. And now Mr. Beast perhaps monopolize, or any creator actually. Or on the other hand, it can be more like, people have the choice to see whatever. So like in the end, they'll spend more time on YouTube and everyone is going to get a share. How do you see this, Vanessa?
I think it's great for smaller creators, because if YouTube gives these features to smaller creators, we have the potential to reach even larger audiences. Smaller creators that can only speak one or two languages, because English and in my case Portuguese are not the most spoken languages in the world. And if we translate it or dub it into Spanish, for instance, we get a bigger reach, a wider audience that can, watch the content and actually understand what we are talking about. So, and it's a free tool, because we were talking previously about that. We are not Mr. Beast. We don't have the budget to pay the guy from Japan that does the Naruto or the Dragon Ball character's voice to come and do our own dubbing. So it's a great tool. We already have the tools for captioning. In English, it works really well. It's not perfect. It's still far from that, but it works really well, and it does not add that much of a bigger layer of work for the publishing in YouTube. But actually having the dubbing, because I think this is my view. I have no idea if this is true, but I think people outside of Portugal don't read captions that much. They like dubbing more. I'm thinking about countries like in Spain, Italy, where people don't even know how the real voice of Brad Pitt really sounds like, because everything is dubbed. So yeah, I'm really excited for something like this to come in and to be rolled out, so we can try it and see how it works.
Yeah. No, I think there's two ways. Obviously, with Mr. Beast, we're seeing professional voice actors dubbing it. In the case of Japan, I think it was the Naruto actor. She's like kind of, he can, or his team can choose, pick and choose whoever they want to dub, which is interesting because then you feel connected in a different way. But so like there's that professional dubbing, which before it wasn't even available. You could not have like different audio tracks, and now you can, which by itself it's very interesting. But I think, and as you were saying, like in a near future, with the help of AI, we'll get not only the transcript, like not only the subtitles, the captions translated automatically to English, but perhaps to be generated with some like kind of personality through AI.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this, and maybe for like me and you, English is not our native language, and it's kind of restraining when you have to adapt from your native language into a second language, like English is for me. So I was just, thinking here in my head that maybe we can, or I could go back to my native language, Portuguese, and have a dubbing in English, because I think things will flow more. How can I say this, naturally, if we are speaking in our native language, and then a layer of dubbing comes in. I don't know. Maybe it will even enrich the content and the storytelling, because adapting from your native language into a second language, some things are not literally translated like that, are not adaptable like that. And maybe with dubbing, we can create something that is more organic, created in our native language, and then translated or dubbed into a second, third, fourth. I don't know. The sky is the limit with tools like this. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it. I mean, first, just the option to actually, if I want to have the video in two different languages and myself doing the voice, perhaps like before it wasn't possible. It's still not rolled out yet, but like just having that possibility, I think it's pretty cool. The same way that I can write the captions, not having them like automatically translated. I can do it, and I think that's great. If you have the time to spend like translating it, like and giving it like a little bit of your touch and making it perfect, it's great. And the same way, like just enabling that to creators for them to, if they want, they can create a second audio file and like just upload it. I think that's very interesting. And then perhaps like having AI, and I mean we're playing with tools that are like premature, like they are not ready yet to be in a professional context, but like this is the worst that they'll ever be. So like the future is just gonna make it better. So thinking that even on capture, like YouTube, like the auto generated stuff, even if it's in Portuguese or English, like I feel that it's way more accurate. Like I would struggle like a lot, like 2-3 years ago, like to have transcripts properly in English, just because I'm not speaking properly British English or American English. But now, like, I feel that it's 90% accurate. Maybe like when I say some word, a brand or like, a tool, it will struggle, but like the rest is like, it's perfect. And before we couldn't see that. I think with dubbing, like, if I feel that it will always feel a bit like dry, even if it's like a bit dynamic with some kind of voice, the different paces and stuff. But perhaps like you can just like feel the pace, and I think that's where AI will be great. It's like analyze the pace, the rhythm that you're talking in Portuguese, and then create a dubbing with the same energy. I think that's incredible. Another of the uses that I was hearing, I think it was like a YouTube developer, like trends analyzer, and like kind of like guiding YouTube to help creators giving them like what they want. And one of the possibilities actually was talking about Mr. Beast as well, and the Feastables, the chocolate that he promotes through his own brand actually of chocolate that he always promotes. And in the videos, he's like, well, now you can find Feastables in your 7-Eleven and Walmart and whatever. And he's talking about like American supermarkets. But what this enables is that actually when you're showing this in Japan, you can talk about specific supermarkets in Japan. You're not anymore talking about 7-Eleven. And this unlocks like, new possibilities. And I think that's very interesting for the whole creator economy. Obviously, this will be a big deal for big creators, but also enabling that automatically with AI, maybe with a slightly less quality. I think that's great. Some fun times.
Yeah, definitely. All these AI tools that we have, I think we are not even close to a quarter to the potential that they can give us as creators, as professionals, as people. So this is just we're still in our baby phase of using these tools and the potential they can give us. But let's talk about other tools and potential, because Zoom, the tool that we were all bombarded with when we came home during the pandemic and our social isolations or quarantines, Zoom. Well, Zoom says that they can use, or they will use, our personal information content that we record on the platform to train AI. Is this what is happening, Tiago?
That's what looks like it was written somewhere in the terms and conditions that we blindly sign whenever we use any tool. And in this case, so they adjusted the terms and conditions and kind of like silently added that can use any information that they, that we provide, that we generate, which is our faces and our voices and our text on the chat, that they will use that to train their models, their AI models. And I'm not really sure what's that about, perhaps. And I can imagine that would be some sort of what happens with the Office, Microsoft Office, and the way Teams was already using it, like to kind of like, summarize meetings and that kind of things. I believe that there might be some sort of similar use, but perhaps we're seeing, or there's potential to use, filters, which, there's some filters on Zoom, but I'm imagining if you have your camera off, perhaps, and you have you want to create an avatar of yourself talking, and perhaps my face has been used like to do that, and perhaps, some sort of my face could be a filter, which, I don't think that directly that's what would happen, but, perhaps there's some level of these that can happen. So the concerns of people is like, I'm not sure if I want to give, all these, and it's not something that you can opt out. It's like, it's in the terms and conditions. Like, you gave away your rights. So yeah, your image, your face, your voice is not yours anymore. But on the other hand, I think we might have seen this in other services, right?
Definitely. Everything we use in social, every platform we use as social media networks, everything we put out, every content, every photo you upload, every video, every sentence you write, it is not yours. People must not forget this. These platforms are not ours, and the content we put there, it is not ours. From the moment you upload it, it's theirs. It belongs to them. So it's kind of not a new thing that we are giving the rights to our images and our thoughts to some company like this. But I guess it's kind of different when it's a communication platform like Zoom, where everything is around your face, your voice, and mostly privacy, because we use Zoom for company meetings, for our businesses, for personal and professional stuff that is not used for social media, for sharing in social media. So I guess it's kind of scarier because of that. But if we scrutinize it, it's the same thing that other platforms do. Everything you put there, it's not yours. It's theirs from the moment you upload to it. So, but the first thing I thought when I read this, it was, yeah, in the European Union, this will not roll ever, because as Europeans, we have privacy concerns all over. And I was thinking to myself, well, am I ready to see my face or my voice being used in, I don't know, a Netflix show? Because we must not forget that Zoom might be training their own AI, but they can also sell that data. These transactions happen all the time. And I was thinking about that Black Mirror episode where the information of someone who was a viewer of Netflix, her face was on billboards and everything else. That's kind of scary. I think I would have had a heart attack if I just went online and somehow I saw somebody that looked like me. I think it's scary that our faces can pop up anywhere in the internet or on television. I don't know. So, yeah, I think it's scary because of that, because of the privacy that these calls have, and that somehow that information might be used anywhere around the internet or the dark web, for that matter, which is scary stuff. So
it's a small callback to the last episode. No, but yeah, indeed, I think the biggest difference here is Zoom would mostly be used in a professional context, and not only it's being paid most of the time. So I'm paying to use this tool. And even though my information, which, it's private, and whatever, meetings I'm having, they might be used to, training, that's kind of weird. But on the other hand, yeah, I don't know how Microsoft have done that with Teams. Perhaps they were using the information the same way. So sometimes what these happen is there's just some noise about this specific thing, and perhaps that's what happened here with Zoom. But on the other hand, and we were talking about how these won't roll on the European Union, and I feel kind of the same thing. But the direct consequence of having this noise about this is the CEO of Zoom came in public saying well, guys, that's not really like that. We weren't really going to use your information to train our AI. It's just a small, line in the terms and conditions. But no, that's all good. And with these, I believe that they'll be for sure more scrutinized, and they'll be, maybe stepping back with their intentions of using it. And I think if there's, in the end, there was something good out of this noise and this polemic, which is perhaps we'll have our rights more preserved. But at the same time, I believe that someone at the European Union were well, we can maybe discuss that. So let's, open a process and discuss that. So perhaps that happened already. But in the end, it's good for us users that, we have our data more private. I think in the end, it's something that we benefit of. But on the other hand, it's it's the world of the internet. So data, it's not really yours. And once it's out there, then that's it. It's not yours anymore.
Yeah, it's a form of exploitation, because you have no control over how the information is used, and people think they do. Most people think they do. So that's a big misconception. But enough about privacy, because this is a scary topic, and we've been discussing this all through these episodes. Let's change into more creative stuff and geeky stuff, which is something that both you and I love. You finally have been testing Bard, so let me know how that has been.
Indeed. So recently I was looking for inspiration. Essentially, I wanted to make my YouTube titles better. So essentially, I've been getting these newsletter that, bring some examples of good hooks, good titles on YouTube and why they work and how you can apply to your own niche or to your own videos. And every time that I get that, it's a weekly newsletter, I take some value from that, some inspiration, but I wish I had like a video pending, like that I need to have a title, so then I can kind of get that inspiration and apply it directly. But it rarely happens like that. So whenever I need a title, I need a title now. So I found out that I needed to, organize that information in a way that I could actually benefit from it. So I had the idea of grabbing these newsletters and run it through. In this case, I started with Chat-GPT, so it could help me, crunching that information, putting nicely into a table. So then I could organize it by, score, organize it by whatever, so it could fit my needs better. So I've done that through Chat-GPT. So essentially, I was like, crunch this information and output it in a table, so then I can import to Google Sheets. Here's the newsletter. So I've been doing that like with a few newsletters, and what suddenly was happening was like, first like the output was being very, very, very slow. And whenever it was output, I felt that, the output is not complete, like it's missing. So let's say that, in each newsletter, there was like 5, titles that I wanted to, import into the table. So I've run 5 newsletters. I should have like 25 entries. But suddenly there was only 8, and I was wondering what happened. So I started to ask, ChatGPT, why are you showing only 8? And he's like, well, that's what you input. And he's like, not really. I think I inputted 25. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You only input 8. And I'm like, okay, what if I use Bard for the same thing? So that's what I've done. And essentially, the prompt was kind of the same thing. And I found that Bard was way faster, just outputting stuff. Another thing that was great is like it's directly implemented on the Google tools. So I could directly create a Google Sheets just with one button, and like that info, I don't even need to copy paste it. It's like it's in a Google Sheets table, which was amazing. And then as I kept repeating it, essentially Google Bard could keep up with this information, and it was way quicker. And I think that was my first good real use of Bard, but it yielded me very good results, I have to say.
Yeah, and you went to a different usage. I've been using it to help me with information to write better scripts, and you already connected it to Google Sheets. I haven't done that. The process, was it, how difficult, how hard is the process to do that connection? Is it instantly? You just tell it to I want to create a Google Sheet out of this information, put it on a table. How did you do that?
Yeah, so on ChatGPT, I was like, create a table. Create a table with this info, and then I copy pasted, and I copied it, and I tried to paste it on a Google Sheets, and it didn't work because it was just like one cell and it was not formatted to. And then I asked ChatGPT, can you output it in a way that it works, like I can copy paste it into a Google Sheets? And it still didn't work very well. So I'm like, can you output it in a CSV so then I can import it? And that would have worked, but then that's when I run out with the limited output. And I'm like, well, this is not really working well for me. So instead, I tried it with Bard, and literally, you're like, output me these into a table. And there's like a small button in the bottom saying like, create a Google Sheets. And so that was directly in this way. And what I found is like I kind of needed to hack it a little bit. I could not add more information into this Google Sheet. Perhaps I could have done that somehow. Perhaps there's a prompt that I can, do you know this file? Can you add this to this table? I'm not sure if that happened. I end up like having to copy paste it. But although, I was copy pasting, it was smooth. I just like copy all the table and then paste it on Google Sheets, and it would be on different cells and stuff. So it definitely worked out very well in that sense. And it saved me time that I could do this manually, but like it would be like, very slow and boring. And this way it was like, I've managed to do this like in 20 minutes or something. While if I had to do it manually, it would take me like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours to do it. So yeah, I think it was great. And then I was healed a lot of good ideas that I put into practice right away. And I believe even now, if I want to use that data, and that's kind of what I wanted to do, like look into this table. I've got like, 50 YouTube titles that performed well. Now, based on this video that I have, output me 10. That's what I wanted to do. And I think, eventually that'll be a very, very valuable tool to use. And I think it's not that hard. Like now that the data is organized, perhaps I can do something like that. So that was my idea. But, still using Google Bard or Chat-GPT, there's always the input limitation. So that's how I need to find out. But, with access to different plugins, perhaps I can, or with code interpreter, I think on ChatGPT, you need to export that data into like a CSV perhaps, and then like run the code, analyze these, and then output me whatever. So I need to play it more, be more geeky into that. But I think it will be very, very good to have that data playing to my in favor of me.
But I have this question for you, because I think it might be happening that ChatGPT is no longer interesting for OpenAI. Because what it seems to me is that they've been, discontinuing the supports and the features to be featured on it. Not just on the free side, but also on the paid side. I think it can, maybe I'm just, these ideas are just in my head, but maybe they're just focusing on having people use their technology to apply in their own products. And ChatGPT was just, a marketing tool for us to try it, be hooked to it, and find out that we cannot live without it anymore. So we buy other tools. And that maybe OpenAI and its technology will just be the provider of the technology and developing the technology for selling it to other players. Because I feel they've been abandoning ChatGPT as we go. Do you feel like anything like this? I don't know. It's something that I've been thinking about.
I think what I feel it's happening is they run into problems, being, the browsing feature doesn't work very well, and it's like it's really not working that well. There are tools that do it properly. There are third-party tools that perhaps you can use some other way than ChatGPT, but this tool doesn't really work that well. So can we fix it? And we cannot really fix it. So let's drop it. And then some other tools, kind of the thing. So similarly. So I feel that if there's something that they cannot fix it, perhaps they are turning it off or something in the background. The using the API is insanely helpful for a lot of tools that can actually use it. So I think there's a huge business for OpenAI still, and in this case, it's actually very valuable still to a lot of business that are building through and with the API of ChatGPT. But what I feel that can be happening as well, and we don't see, so there was a big hype with ChatGPT happening because it's the first time that we have access to all these, and service and times were terrible. That's why we all started to pay, because no one could access. And even if you're paying, sometimes you have downtime. Your login, you're logged out every 3 days for some reason. They are fixing it now. Once you open ChatGPT, you actually have 4 ideas. I want to brainstorm, I want to do this and that. I've just seen recently that you can have a auto prompt kind of thing. You always this is what I want you to always remember whenever I prompt you. Know that, I am Tiago, and I want you to talk to me like as if I was a robot, or like, talk to me in Portuguese, whatever it is. Like, you can set that before. But so like they are developing like these, user-friendly small tools. But I feel that they are just patches onto something that was like, it was premature in a way. Like, it was the first time that we all have, GPT, large language models, being able for and available for public. So I think, in a way, like we all had like these, like in a rush, and a lot of things were rushed. And I think then there's a lot of bugs, which is normal, but the usage was so massive that they don't have time to fix it properly. But I feel at the same time, what's happening, it's perhaps GPT-5. That's where they are focusing. And there was a lot of, concerns about like it being safe or not. So that actually got slowed down, because they didn't want to, GPT-4 is already so, complex and so good that people were afraid that, GPT-5 is going to just take over and like humanity is going to be gone, that kind of thing. So like they kind of slow down, but I think that they're certainly working on the GPT-5 instead of making GPT-4 or Chat-GPT, making it better. Instead of that, I think they are perhaps working on the language, large language model development, and not so much on the UI.
Yeah. So folks, don't pay for Chat-GPT because it is not worth it. Let's wait to see what happens with this tool, because for now I don't see much value in having it the paid version for now. And Bard is really surprising for something that came after, and is actually doing great work. And with me, with my usage, with the kind of usage that I've been giving it's working really well. It's working better than ChatGPT. So I'm maybe start to shift everything I was doing with ChatGPT. I will just do it with Bard. It's might be something like that for me in the next days.
And there's you were talking, like Google Bard came after ChatGPT, and they've done it better. And do you know who's the master of doing that? It's Apple. We've all seen Apple like taking their time to build secretly something, and I'm very, very, very curious to see what Apple will do regarding to AI, regarding to large language models. Of course, they are working with it. I've just recently read like kind of a news article with Tim Cook talking about like we're using AI in everything. So everything there's AI on it, and it's not from now. Like, we're using AI with everything, and I'm very curious to see what's the version of that Apple will use AI into, like, and I think that it will be like perhaps game changer in the way that still it's hard to use Bard and GPT like into our normal lives. It's not flawless. It's like there's always like some difficulties to do that. And I think with what Apple would do is like, no, like you don't need to open an app. Like, you're just talking to your earphones, and like I'll sort it out for you, because that's what you deserve. Like, you want good usage, like you want it to be user friendly. I don't know, and I think nobody knows what Apple is doing, but I'm becoming ready to see something special coming from Apple. I'm actually very interested to see what comes from there.
Yeah, I think we talked about something. My view on this might be the road that Apple is going. That these virtual assistants become like a seamless part of our lives. This technology, we just talk to it, like you mentioned, and they help us out. They always remember who we are, and they're just a a prompt away, a voice prompt away from doing the things we need them to help us do. And maybe Apple is going through that route, that it's frictionless, the use of these technologies. And there's already a company that is doing that. I keep forgetting their name, but they have this device that it's smaller than our AirPods case. It's just this part. It goes like this, and he just taps on it, and he talks to it, and it gives you everything you need. I keep forgetting what's it called.
Did you see it on a TED Talk?
Oh, I saw the TED Talk, but I followed their creative director, which is Sam Sheffer. He used to work in The Verge and Mashable and stuff like that, and I've been following him as a creator because he's also a YouTuber. I've been following him, and a year ago he got hired as, I think, creative director for this company, and I keep forgetting their name. And I think they're also creating or producing a tech device, hardware, that is really small and fits seamlessly into our lives. And the people that founded this company, they worked in Apple for like 20 plus years. So the culture is there. The culture and the way we use technology is there.
The way we see Apple doing things is, it's just like, we've seen that like with the VR headset. It's like nobody was looking for it. Like we're not waiting for it. Like we didn't ask anything. Nobody leaked anything until we're actually there. And there's like these like crazy futuristic VR headset that is better than anything in the market, and it costs only $4,000 kind of thing, which is like Apple style. But I think we haven't heard, like in the last conference that Apple have done, we've talked about like how Google were like AI, and Apple didn't say a single time, didn't talk about AI or large language model, like GPT. They never mentioned that. They use like their own kind of words, but like they didn't really make a big fuss about it. And whenever we feel that, Apple is lagging behind and like they haven't talked about these and we kind of forget about it, I think that's when Apple like comes with something. So next, I don't know when it's the next conference that they'll have, but I'm very confident that within a few months like they'll come with something that people are like, yeah, of course, like I need a helmet that talks to me, like feeds my brain with AI. Yeah, that's what I wanted. I feel that we'll eventually see something, Apple coming with a product that we didn't know that we needed, but it's here. And that might just be like, like a tiny thing that you put in your jacket or something and helps you with your life, perhaps.
Yeah. Now I know the name of the company. It's Humane. Humane. Is human, but humane. And this is the company that Sam Sheffer is working with right now. He works on communication marketing. He is director of something within the company. And they're also working in a device that is powered by all these things AI, and that might surprise us in the near future. You can go to their website and actually be an early adopter, because they will feed you the news, the most recent news on how the developing of this device is going, and you can go on and make a reserve for the device, so you can all check it out. It's the Humane. And you can also Google Sam Sheffer. He's a great content creator and big tech guy. So check him out if you like these things.
We'll drop some links in the description below.
And the description below, yeah. Make sure to also comment on this episode. But yeah, we're going on to our last topic of today's episode, which is creating. We are both creators, or wannabe creators. At least I am here on YouTube, and we were discussing our process. And as geeks, we've been learning and watching lots of videos on the creative process of for YouTube content. And so we wanted to talk about this today and what is our process. So, Tiago, how do you come up with your ideas for content here on YouTube, and how does your process roll out?
Yeah, so I feel that I'm well. First, I'm very optimistic, which it's good, and there's bad things about it, which means that I don't usually prepare a lot of stuff, or like I don't think before a lot before doing something, which in a way it's good, it's practical, and there's less friction before actually doing something. But on the other hand, I feel that I would benefit with strategizing a little bit better, like planning before whatever I'm doing. So like I was in a way, like these titles, and like thinking of a title before creating the video, title and thumbnail here for YouTube. That's something that I've never used this way of creating, but I feel like I want to try it, which is thinking before. Like I was listening to a conversation with Colin and Samir. Great YouTube channel, by the way, for any creator, to learn more about the creator economy. And I've been kind of binge watching some of their interviews with creators. And one thing that they keep saying, and they've literally said, like, if there's a video that we cannot come up with a title and thumbnail,
if we can't think of the title and thumbnail for this video, we shouldn't make it.
I was shocked, because usually my creative process is the opposite. Like I think about a topic, perhaps I read a little bit about it, like I plan what I need to say, but I don't focus too much on it. And then as I film that, I add it, and when I have a final video, I think like, okay, so what's the title and thumbnail? What can that be? And I feel that for me, like it's a process that I don't enjoy it too much. So like I've got like a lot of like challenges to do it, like to come up with a good title and a good thumbnail. And I feel that because I leave it to the end, like it feels just like like a chore that I need to do. And it's like, okay, cool, yeah, how can I solve this problem? But I think perhaps, and that's something that perhaps I want to do more in the future, is like starting the opposite, and Colin and Samir way style, perhaps, like of there's a video that I want to make. It can I think of a few possible titles and a thumbnail, and then build the video from that. What are your thoughts? Because I know you work differently, Vanessa.
Yeah, I do. I've been trying a few things for the past years, and now that I'm trying to be more consistent on YouTube, I've just adopted that strategy of having the ideas beforehand, and then it's usually if I really want to do a video about this topic. I'm not really worried for now if will it work or will it not work. I just do it because I like it, I love it. But I think beforehand I try to think about titles, thumbnails, scripting, of course. I use a tool called TubeBuddy, and I research to see what keywords might work better to make the content more SEO friendly, more clickable, because TubeBuddy provides more videos that were done using those keywords, and it gives you an SEO score for it. So I prepare beforehand. I prepare the thumbnail, the ideas, of course, the titles, the thumbnails, and the scripting. I prepare beforehand before I shoot everything. And this is what I've been doing. I cannot say that it's working for now, because I've been trying this just for the past like 3 to 4 months that I've been using this consistently. And it has, I've had this mini success on YouTube with a video that I did, but it was also a very trending topic. So it kind of helped the video to do kind of well. But this is how I tend to do it. I plan beforehand what I do in terms of the thumbnail, the title, and everything else. Of course, I just shoot the images for the thumbnail when I'm shooting the video. But in these last videos that I've done, I haven't used my face at all on the thumbnails, and it kind of gave me good results for now. But yeah, just to tell you that I tend to plan ahead, so it it's I like things to be smoother. I know not everything goes according to plan, never. It's Murphy's law, but I like to have some kind of a roadmap to it, and just to check things out, and on the long term see through the data if something is working well or not, and then I can try other things.
Whenever people talk about how they build their YouTube kind of channels and stuff, like there's little people saying like, no, I just turn on the camera and like I go with the flow kind of thing. So like that means like, yeah, obviously you need to plan, you need to pre-produce your content, and in that sense, if I can make it more of that and less of a let's just press record and see how it goes. Although obviously it depends on the content. Like if you're filming a vlog, perhaps you can be a bit more flexible. But if you want to go on a bit more on like factual and research and stuff, and that's actually something as I'm starting a new podcast on beer, where the format before I used to do like more like long format interviews, and now I'm shifting a bit to like just me in front of a camera and a microphone talking about a specific theme on in this case in the beer industry. So that takes me, for instance, like one of the first episodes is going to be talking about why alcohol-free beers are gaining more space in the beer industry, and now that might affect the general industry. So for that, like, and thinking, if I think of can I plan anything? Can I study this topic? What's the value? How can I make it more valuable for the listener? That takes me right away to like, okay, so what is alcohol-free beer, and how can you make alcohol-free beer, and why is there not more brands doing alcohol-free beer, and what good alcohol-free beer brands there are there? And then suddenly I can see like 5 or 6 or 7 topics that I can actually research. And then when I research, I can, that's giving value. And I'm excited to do that process. And I think the quality of the content that I'll be making soon, in that sense, if I prepare it properly, it's actually, it can make it way better, way more valuable for the listeners. And, in the end, perhaps I spend, a few hours researching a topic, but that's what needs to be done, rather than perhaps spending those 2 or 3 hours on editing. I'll spend those 2 or 3 hours, researching. And I think in the end, the final result will be better with kind of the same time spent on the video itself.
Yeah, I think what you said there was really valuable when you said, things kind of shift. If you spend more time researching, in theory, you will spend less time editing, because everything was more planned and prepared previously. So things will flow more quickly during the editing phase and the post-production phase. That's the idea. It might not be like this, but the idea is that, so that you are better prepared than when you actually do the work and record and edit and publish. Things go smoother. That's the idea. At least for me, that's the idea. Is that we are all lazy. Humans are lazy. We want to do things faster and better every time, so that it doesn't take us too much time and occupies our lives. So I think preparing gives us that space to work things previously, then when it goes into a production phase into post-production phase, everything goes better, it goes smoother. Not that it goes like that every time. For instance, I prepare my script, but during the editing phase, I just go, well, maybe I could add this and that and this song and that sound and that gif, whatever. Some things happen in post, creativity flows. But either way, if you do some of the work, the research, the preparing of everything previously, in theory, it will save you more time on production and post-production. That's in theory. At least this is how I see things. I've seen a few creators, like I think his name is Jamie Dorman or James Dorman or something, where he actually explains his process of writing titles and delivering thumbnails really, really smoothly with phases, different phases of ideation. So everything, and he's also like that. He publishes a video with everything pre-planned. The thumbnail already. He sketches the thumbnail. He just makes some stickman or something, and he sketches the thumbnail before he does everything else. And not as extreme as Colin and Samir not doing it. At least he did not talk about that in the video, but he just draws everything previously before going and shooting the thumbnail or designing it or whatever. And that's actually, I think it's his best performing video on his YouTube channel, this one where he talks. We can link it in the description below as well. It's a really valuable content for me, and I actually share it with my students I teach YouTube marketing at Lisbon Digital School, and I always share this video with them because I think it's so valuable if you're trying to be consistent on YouTube and make processes for your creativity. I think it's really, really valuable. I've learned a lot from just this single video, and I try to optimize my processes with this knowledge. It's value.
Yeah, I think I fantasize to be able to click a button and start recording and give value, but probably like the work that I need to put until one day maybe I get to that point. That's still a long way. But like the fact that you were saying that you save time if you pre-produce things. Like I was just editing recently a vlog that I didn't really plan it too much. I had a general idea of what was happening, and obviously a vlog, there's room to kind of improvise, and you don't know exactly what's going to happen. But I felt like the lack of planning made me actually film. I had to film something on post-production, like, hey, here's Tiago from the future kind of thing, or here's Tiago from the editing, which I think in the end, he gave it it placed like the cushion here and there to not derail, and when you're viewing it, it's interesting and you understand, and actually even a rhythm change, so you're not always seeing the same thing. I think in the end it benefited, but clearly that extra hour or a few hours of just okay, I need the narrator to say these and that here and there. Okay, cool. So writing kind of a script, then setting up camera and scenario, where can I film these, and then you film it, and then you still edit, and then perhaps you didn't say what you need to say, so you need to refilm something. So that time, clearly, if I would have planned it, and perhaps it's the same time that you spend, if you plan it before, then maybe you can avoid having to film on or fix it on post-production. But the way I see it already, since I started to think more on thumbnails and titles before, there are a few vlogs that I have in mind that I want to do, beer related here in Brussels and around, that I can see the thumbnail already. I see the title and I know what's going to be, because it's a vlog, but I've been in that place and I can tell a story about that place. It's just a matter of going there and filming it again. But I can see already why these could be interesting. Why is this thumbnail is going to work? Why is this title, appealing? And which is, for me, it's like spending more time learning about all these things, like it's paying off, at least in my mind, in the way that I do things, and hopefully it will convert into like, okay, we're doing the right things, and we'll get the results. But I feel that it's already changing my mindset, the way I think about creating, and I think that'll eventually benefit me in the long run. So yeah, I think that's great. Sometimes just like a little change of your strategy or mentality, but perhaps and hopefully there will be good results from that.
I think as people that create or creatives, I don't know, we tend to, our minds wander, and I feel that especially for people like that, you need processes because to keep you grounded, because if you don't have these processes, you might just wonder. Your mind just wanders, and you go and start to go down rabbit holes. So I think processes are that friendly reminder that, okay, focus. You need to do this, then that, then that. This still leaves margin for creativity. Of course it does. When you're researching and when you're writing, it's your creativity. When you're shooting, it's still your creativity to think about the shot, to think about the gestures, the words, how they sound, and the editing phase. There's always margin for creativity. But I feel that if I don't have steps to check, I might wonder and might, procrastinate. I'm a serious procrastinator. So I need these things to help me keep focused. And I think a lot of people in the creative industry might think the same way and might use these not my processes but their own, and might do the research as well to get these processes aligned with what they want to create. I think it's valuable to always create, to keep you focused. That's my view on creativity. You have space for it, but you also need something to keep you grounded. That's
indeed. So yeah, keeping our process. I think like the takeaways here is like having creative process set up so we don't just get lost on it. We need to plan, both like on the research kind of point of view, but also on the filming, where we want to film, and all those kind of things. Perhaps start from the end, or at least what was the end for me, which is like the publishing phase, that you need like a thumbnail and you need a title. Perhaps if you have that from the get-go, that would enable you to be more creative and like just have a better result. And then I think with resilience and like being there, which I think that you mentioned the procrastination, and it's like if we are resilient and if we are consistent, perhaps we can achieve our goals of like that's the creative and the creator's grind. Is just like you need to be there, you need to keep pushing, you need to keep filming and publishing. Essentially it's like more than filming, it's about publishing. If you don't publish, you can film whatever you want, but you won't get anywhere. So I think it's being resilient and just consistent that will help us keep moving forward. And I think that might concludes our episode.
Yes, I think so. So everyone, thank you for being here. If you liked, please don't forget to give that naughty redundancy there. So please subscribe, like if you like this episode and our talks, and comment if you have anything to say about these tools that we mentioned, these processes, this creativity, anything. And feel free to reach out to us. All links will be in the description, everything for the show notes. And from my part, thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one.